Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the C.L. Bryant Show. I am C.L. Bryant, and we are streaming nationwide throughout the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known, and that is America. Here in the jeweled cities of the Arklatex, the jeweled cities of the Arklatex, Shreveport and Bossier, my hometown. And I want to thank all you folks in North Carolina, up there in over there in East Texas, and up in southern Arkansas. I want to thank you for coming along on this great American journey with me. And I have a feeling that we have a lot, well, I know that we have a lot to talk about today. I want to give you a heads up on some free screenings that are going on right there at Bailey's Jewelers, 2934 East Texas in Bossier. This Friday, 5/26, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. free cancer screening, free skin cancer screening, head and neck. Get on over there. Hey, the summer's coming. You want to make sure before you get out there in that sun that everything's okay. So that's going to be at Bailey's Fine Jewelers, who has been one of our proud sponsors for over nearly the 3 years that we have been on. Go by and check them out, and go in and see Gary and Paul. Tell them CL sent you. And coming up in the show will be Dr. David Grantham, Senior Fellow with National Center for Policy and Analysis, when we return in the next segment. Also, folks, this coming Wednesday, meet me out at Lake Bistineau. I'm going to do the show live from there at Lake Bistineau. It will be from 5:30 to 7:30. I'm going to be there for the unveiling of the it's a military soldier statue. It's a soldier statue. And right after Memorial Day, this is a fantastic time to come out and be with me. And if you have not been to Camp Joy, not Camp Minden, Camp Joy next week on Lake Bistineau, it is going to be, it's a beautiful place, beautiful spot. And come on out to Camp Joy next Wednesday. I'll be giving you the address and everything. Be sure to tune in tomorrow and Friday and Monday next week, and I'll be giving you the address. Come on out and let's have a great patriotic time together next Wednesday at Lake Bistineau's Camp Joy. Now, hey, as I told you, we got a lot to talk about, and after we get off the line with Dr. Grantham, I want to share with you a few clips that I have, not only of things that are going on here in this country, but things that are going on over in England. Question today: why do they hate us? Well, Netanyahu probably said it best. It's because our culture has outdistanced and has outdone their culture. Islam has basically failed as far as the culture of it, as governmental culture of it, in Libya, Egypt, places like that. It has failed. And our culture has thrived. Radical Islam. But we're going to talk about that later on in the show. You want to stick around, because it's time to get serious about all of this. No more tootsie footing around. No. It's time to get serious about all of this. And the question that you must answer, from this point on is, what are you prepared to do? Because the English are having to ask themselves this question. The Swedes, the Germans, you name it, in Europe, they're having to ask themselves questions of what are we prepared to do about this particular threat that is threatening us? Do we allow political correctness to rule the day and overrun the American culture? You let the Rachel Maddows, you let the Chris Matthews, you let the progressive liberals have their way. And if you're willing to kowtow to it, and if you're going to run and hide because you have been called a name or something of that nature, you are going to see in the movie theaters, at the concerts, in the churches, the thing that you witnessed the other day there in Manchester, England. You're going to see it. So the question that you have to answer, and yes, you have to answer this question. What are you prepared to do? You can either stand or run. And right now, after 8 years of this past administration, we've been doing a lot of bowing down and backing off. We're in a mood now where it is no more. But the progressive liberals are doing everything they can to keep this American ship on a course to go over the falls. Yeah. We're staring into the English are staring into an abyss. They did it to themselves. And Americans, we will be staring into an abyss, the same type of an abyss that we were staring into if Hillary Clinton had become president of the United States. If we let the progressive liberals complete their mission to fundamentally change this nation, England has been fundamentally changed. And now they are scrambling, trying to answer the question I'm asking you. What are we prepared to do? Dr. David Grantham, when I return, don't you go anywhere. I'm CL.
Been waiting for the bus so late.
CL, back with you on this Wednesday, here streaming live across the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known. That is America. And I want to welcome aboard to the CL Bryant Show our friends in North Carolina, East Texas, and Southern Arkansas, as well as the rest of you throughout the fruited plains of our great nation. On with me now is someone who is fastly becoming a regular on the show. He is. You've heard him many times, and you always receive him well. Dr. David Grantham, Senior Fellow with National Center for Policy Analysis, where our good friend Alan West also is engaged. Dr. Grantham, welcome back to the CL Bryant Show. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. How are you, sir?
Doing fantastically well. And I see here, I believe this is in Town Hall, that you have a piece here in Town Hall that leads with the words, lead, follow, or get out of the way. That is David Grantham saying those words. Doctor, what are you insinuating by saying those things?
Following up on a previous article, also in Town Hall, where I posed the question, do world leaders even know how to address terrorism? What began as a rhetorical, snarky, if you will, statement has really turned into a genuine question, and that's where this last article that you just referenced came from. I say, not only do I wonder now truly if leaders know how to address terrorism, but now I wonder if there's someone that can step up and execute a plan. So I've gotten to the point after seeing a young girl, no younger than 10, killed by yet another terrorist. I beg the question, not only do world leaders know what to do, or do they? I'm now saying either have a plan, execute it, or get out of the way and let someone else step up who can.
Has there been a lackadaisical, the English, I was asking the question before you came on, what are we prepared to do? Now, the Brits, I think too little too late, well, maybe not too late, but it's been too little over a period of time. They're asking themselves now, what are we prepared to do? What do you think we need to do in America to make sure that does not happen to us again? What advice are you giving?
I'm first saying let's engage the enemy. I hate to be the one as a veteran. I understand war. I understand the consequences that come with it. But overwhelming force against a foe who has no other mission other than to kill those who don't subscribe to their ideology deserves nothing less. I think this is a just war. I think the enemy will stop at nothing, and we've come to a place where the United States must re-engage the enemy. I think we pulled back, but we need a specific, precise plan, not overwhelming whole of government process. I'm talking about finding the groups like Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and a simultaneous overwhelming strike against all in repeated fashion, and I think General Mattis is the man to lead that.
Are we afraid as Americans because the progressive liberals are going to howl, as far as civilian casualties are concerned? Have we gotten to a place in America where we are afraid to wage war because of political correctness as far as war is concerned? Has it become such a politically correct issue that we are handcuffed when it comes to waging war?
We have reached a point collectively where I think war becomes much like Obamacare. It's a great idea when the president in power will veto it every time. You can pass it. Then once you get in power, you suddenly don't have the willpower to pass what you've already passed how many times before. And I'm afraid war and this enemy has come to that point. Political correctness and the worry of offending or the consequence of unintended actions all these things will tend to draw back some of those who are just not as not willing to engage. I think what it comes down to is something like Winston Churchill, where someone has to take the reins, has to make the decision, and says, I really don't care if I'm reelected or not. This matters more to the protection of my country than my own reelection.
Dr. Grantham, let me ask you this question, because we're hearing more and more the war on terror, the war against evil, and both of those words don't really have a face or something physical that you can attack. And I think by saying evil and by saying terror, we don't really identify the enemy. But I think this president is actually bold enough to identify who is creating some of this evil in the world and who is creating the terror in the world, and is radical Islam. Is that what we're going to have to actually do and be bold enough to say in order to eventually defeat this enemy, is to give it a name?
Absolutely. That's really what it comes down to, is identify the enemy. This is a common aspect of warfare. If you don't know who the enemy is, your war will go all different directions. I think the war on terrorism as a name is a complete misnomer, because it can be taken in so many different contexts, so many different ways. I think the war on radical Islam needs to be named along with the parties that we will target, and those need to be listed by name. We are coming after you, ISIS, you, Al-Qaeda, you, Boko Haram, Abu Sayyaf in the Philippines. Wherever you're at, we're going to come after you. And what that does, not only do we defeat the enemy that is directly engaged with us now, it warns like-minded people like Hamas, like Hezbollah, all those groups that operate similarly, that we will do this to those that choose to fight us.
Dr. Grantham, hold on with me. I want you to bring you back after the break. We're on with Dr. David Grantham, who is Senior Fellow there at National Center for Policy Analysis. When we return, he's on fire, and he has some good stuff yet to talk to us about. I'm CL. Be right back. CL Wednesday, Jeweled Cities of the Arklatex, streaming nationwide from the flagship station, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL Keel here in Shreveport and Bossier, my hometown, and all of you folks in southern in northern Illinois, in North Carolina, and southern Arkansas, East Texas. Want to thank you for being along with us. WLTT there in North Carolina, thank you for being along with us. On the line with me is Senior Fellow of National Center for Policy Analysis, Dr. David Grantham. We want to thank him for his service to our great nation. Dr. Grantham, how do people get a hold of you and your thoughts? What is the website?
Best place to go is ncpa.org. You can also find me on Facebook, Senior Fellow David Grantham, and on Twitter, David_Grantham, the number 1. I post all my work on all social media and on our website.
Fantastic. Now, our president has stated on yesterday that we're not going to refer to these idiots as monsters anymore because they like that. We should refer to them as losers. I think it is a stroke of brilliance and genius. I think it is an incredible psychological move. What do you think about it?
I like the nomenclature. I think it points to the recruiting tactics they use. President Trump is looking to undermine their credibility because these groups function solely on a reputation and symbolism. So if you're using a word like loser, that undercuts their credibility. But at the end of the day, nomenclature is not going to win this war.
No, it won't. It really won't. And so we have to go in, boots on the ground, guns blazing. And, folks, I know this sounds like a script for a John Wayne movie or what have you, but remember, back when John Wayne was making those movies, America was great. I mean, let's face it. Once we got away from that and started making the politically correct war films, America began to decline. Let's face it, we have been on a decline. Can we actually reclaim that greatness, Dr. Grantham, in your opinion?
I believe so, and obviously different people define greatness differently, but I think at the end of the day, greatness to me is defined as something I want to hand to my children, a country in which I want to deliver onto the next generation something precious, something where they can live free and live without fear of attack like we have been experiencing after the last 10 years. So that's the country I want to leave, and that means we need to engage the enemy that for several years now we have chosen to just engage in a war of attrition.
Yeah, that is an incredible legacy to leave behind, and it is the legacy that our foreparents actually thought of in all of the prices that they had to pay for where we are. For you and I having this conversation right now, our foreparents paid that price so that you and I could have this conversation. That legacy that you talk about that we're passing down, are Americans really aware of how fragile that legacy is? And are we still very much in danger of not being able to do that? How are you seeing it?
Well, when I scan the horizon of our country and see the kind of nonsense coming out of D.C., whether it's national security leaks, abuses in power, etc., and the tepid reaction from so many, I fear that as a nation, we don't fully grasp that democracy is merely one election away, one generation away, as President Reagan would say. The nation as a whole, people as individuals, have to know that our constitutional republic has to be preserved. The rule of law, the security of our country, those things come first. If we can't preserve those, we are literally one generation away from slipping into something that we wouldn't want to hand to our children and grandchildren.
Dr. David Grantham, as always, it is great being on with you. Your insight is invaluable. I certainly the price on it is far above anything that I could actually put a tag on, a price tag on. And thank you so much for your insight. And we're going to have you back on soon. Well, you know that. And tell all the folks over there at the National Center for Policy Analysis, my good buddy Alan West, tell him I said hey, and God bless you and keep you.
God bless you, too. Thank you so much. I appreciate the kind words. Keep up the fight on your end.
Thank you, sir. Dr. David Grantham, and we'll be back here in just a little bit. There is a whole lot that we have to talk about, folks. And let me tell you something about terror. There are people who are wanting to terrorize you. They're wanting to terrorize you. And, hey, it's no secret, you come around the average red-blooded American man or woman with that terror stuff, we're going to want to terrorize you back. I'm telling you. And that is the attitude that we are going to have. Guess what that is? Zero tolerance for anybody who's coming around us with that kind of mess. And when we're talking about the progressive liberals, when we're talking about those who would say, I wish the president had said something different about them being losers. Loser, you need to shut up. Oh, I'm sorry I was so abrupt with that, but that is true. It is that type of idiocy that has led to where we are today. Ask the Brits. I have some clips when we come back, a couple of clips when we come back that I want to share with you, and I'm telling you that we are going to launch our conversation with one another today from those. 320-5335, 318-320-5335. I'm CL. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
CL back with you on this Wednesday here in the jewel cities of the Arklatex, and I want to thank each and every one of you for coming along with me on this great American journey. All of you throughout the fruited plains, wherever you may be, who are tuned in to the show. It will be very soon. We will be coming to a station, a network near you, and you'll be able to catch us on a huge live stream. In fact, it's going to be one of the largest streams in the country. I'll give you the name of that on, let's see, I'm going to start talking about it on Friday or Monday. And I'm going to tell you what it is on Friday or Monday. So stay tuned because the Jewel Cities will be going along with me. Now, they kill the children. They launched an attack on the children there in England, and don't you dare think that they care about your children here in America, our children here in America. Why do they hate us? They hate us because we have succeeded where they have failed, and it is their duty, it is their job, it is their belief that they must stop the infidels who have believed differently than they have. And there is a reason why they want to attack the children. A former national security advisor gave his opinion on why that is. Jay, play that one.
One of the things that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind of 9/11, told me was that kids were one of those weapons that Allah had provided so that Al-Qaeda could discourage and punish those people who are resisting the imposition of true Islam. In their minds, they don't see it as cowardice. They don't see it as a horrific act. They see it as something that they can do to create enough horror and enough terror that be able to intimidate those people who would oppose them.
They want to create horror and terror that will intimidate the people who would oppose them, so they attack the children. They don't see the children as children. They see them as a tool of Allah. They see them as a tool. They care nothing about collateral damage, so let's talk about this for a minute. If you want to be politically correct and not wage the war because you don't want to do what they do to us, to their children, then you have no clue what you're talking about. And you are setting yourself up for your kids to experience what these children over in Manchester, England experienced. Yes, you are. The only way to stop this is to wage the war against not evil, no, not a war on evil, not a war on terror, no, not a war on evil, not a war on terror. Those are two faceless things that you will never be able to track down. But you can track down radical Islamists. If, as we talked about with Dr. David Grantham just a minute ago, if you give it a name. And that is something that Obama failed to do for 8 years. He tiptoed around it for 8 years, and it has brought us to this point where, hey, they're at a critical point. They're in England, they're at critical mass as far as their civil alertness is concerned. Everybody is on pins and needles. There is a warrior, though, who received the Medal of Honor. Hey, a soldier, Lieutenant Myers, who said, Jay, you have that clip ready, who said these words, and I agree with them. Here it is.
So how do we strike some real fear into ISIS?
I mean, look, I've been saying this is going to happen for a long time. I mean, when is it coming here? I mean, I think the only way that you get this point across is when we release the gates of hell on them, and we go over and we just start. We start making war so ugly that guess what? Their recruitment videos. It's not cool to join ISIS anymore, and at some point we're going to have to do that. I mean, this labeling as a lone wolf attack. This saying, oh, well, it's not connected. This and that. That's not it. I mean, that's not the solution anymore. You can't just ignore this problem because it's going to come here.
Make it ugly. That's coming from an American warrior. That's the way George Patton would have done it. That's the way MacArthur would have done it. That's the way the greatest generation did it when they went in to destroy evil, Hitler, Tojo, and Mussolini. That's how they did it. They unleashed hell. They unleashed the gates of hell against the enemies of those that were threatening the Republic. Decency. War is hell. War is not decent. But if we are going to live in peace, then we must send a message that justice for those who are caught. I don't care if you're born on American soil, if you radicalize against this nation, if you attack this nation with acts of terror, and hey, let me tell you something, folks, we have to tailor make this all the way down to the street level of people who are up there shooting and carrying on, killing people. You're going, if you want to restore law and order in this world, justice for the perpetrator has to be swift and sure. And you stop this. Now, I don't know how you were raised, but one of the great deterrents in my life as I was being reared as a child, and no, I was not horrified of my parents because they were disciplining me in love. But if I knew that discipline was coming, and I did know that discipline was coming and it was going to be swift and it was going to be sure, it gave me incentive to behave myself a little bit better. Well, a whole lot better, particularly around my mother. Yeah, and if Dad had to come into it, if he had to drop the big Moab, you didn't want Dad to get involved. His mom was bad enough. But Dad, if he had to be called into it, it may be time for America to call in Dad. And you know what, folks? When I see this 70-year-old president that we have, I have a feeling we got a daddy figure there that's going to protect his family. I'm CL. We'll be back. CL back with you on this Wednesday here in the jewel cities of the Arklatex, streaming nationwide, throughout the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known, and that is America. Now let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. I had mentioned it earlier in the show. I'm mentioning it again to you. War on evil won't work. War on terror won't work. But if you declare war on radical Islam and forget the political correctness that goes along with it, it'll work. Dakota Meyer, a former officer, great warrior of ours, a Medal of Honor recipient, has told us that what does work is unleashing hell on them. And we have the weaponry, we have the know-how, and to tell you the truth, in most cases, we know where they are. We just have not gotten the marching orders to go in and clean it up. Will there be collateral damage? There will be, because war is like that. I do believe we have the right president at the right time to do this, because this is what we are facing, my friends. We are facing what this British columnist identifies as something that we are responsible for if, in fact, we don't do something about it. Jay, play the next clip. And, folks, I want you to listen close to what this mother and columnist is saying. Here it is.
But I do think I speak for people who recognise that we're making choices in this country. Yep. We chose to let a jihadi back in, and we chose, therefore, for our little girls to be slaughtered. We choose to protect the human rights of jihadis, 3,000 of whom are roaming those streets because their human rights matter more. We're defending that over our small babies. And I think many mothers like me, many fathers, many normal people perhaps, just feel that we've had enough now. We've had enough. We're tired of buying into the narrative that we're strong and the jihadis are weak. No, we've been knocked down, we've been trampled on, and I think the general population is fed up with being treated so awfully, seeing our little ones slaughtered, just to look after the rights of these terrorists that want to kill us.
Just to look after the rights of the terrorists who want to kill us. We're tired of bowing down to that. She said something that was absolutely on target, absolutely right. They chose, the English, the British I'm talking about, they chose to make their borders porous. And in choosing to make their borders porous and easy to get across, they also chose to have their little girls, as she said, killed. When you choose to do that, you choose not to protect your family. Katy Perry the other day was talking about we ought to all just get along, live together in peace, and not have borders. Now, Katy's parents were ministers. I don't know where she got so crazy. But that is exactly what she was saying. Now, understand, too, Katy has bodyguards. I am certain that she has perimeter security around her home. And I'm certain that those bodyguards have guns. So who is she talking about getting along with everybody and making it a kumbaya moment so that everybody can just enjoy being the family of man? Newsflash, Katy. Doesn't work like that. That's why you have doors on your house with locks on them. That's why you have security systems. That's why you have Smith & Wesson. Oh yeah, Smith & Wesson came along with guns for all types of reasons. Well, first, I guess, it's easier to kill something to eat. But ultimately, and probably initially, it was a better weapon of self-defense that could bark here and bite there. More, I don't know if it's more effective than a bow and arrow if it's silent. Bow and arrow silent. But the gun, bark here, bite there. Pretty good weapon. In fact, it's a very good weapon. And when we talk about people who are wanting to terrorize you and your family, this is what the Founding Fathers had in mind in creating the Second Amendment. If governments or outside tyrants, enemies, foreign or domestic, threaten Americans, then Americans, unlike the British, are armed. And the terrorists are cowards because we're armed. And the idea that the Founding Fathers had was to make sure that your government remained respectful of you because you are armed. And those who we elect to government, we should not cower before them. We should not worry about them coming after us because we're armed. And they should be afraid of us coming toward them armed. But over in Britain, they let them take their guns away. Over in Britain, this guy could have been running away, and I don't even think the cops over there have guns immediately handy to him. This guy could have been running away, not blowing himself up, and nobody would have been able to take him down immediately. He'd probably gotten away. But I hear they have arrested about 5 more. Good. I hear that they will probably languish in some jail in England for a long time if they don't do something to get the information that's necessary out of them. While England cowers, worried, not going about living their lives, because they chose to let jihadists come in. They also chose, in doing so, to kill their kids at concerts where they should have been safe and not worried. 318-320-5335, 318-320-5335 is the number to call. And let me tell you something. Their rights, the jihadist rights, are not worth the life of one American. The English are finding it out. I'm C. I'll be right back. CL, back with you on this Wednesday afternoon, and I want to thank all of you for tuning in here today. The 318-320-5335, 318-320-5335 is the number to call. And I want to certainly say, and Jay, I want to play one more clip before we take a caller. I want to play one more clip of the same journalist there with the British tabloid who speaks her mind very clearly, very forcefully, and I agree with her. You know, she's being called a racist. She's being called all kinds of xenophobic type of things. But I want you to hear this last statement that she makes. Jay.
I've had people kindly leaking to me things that they've been sent, school teachers being told, you know, this isn't about Islam, this is not the Quran, and also this is a drive to increase reporting of hate crimes. So it said, we will not tolerate hate, please report hate. So we will see in the next couple of weeks reports of a spike in hate crime. I guarantee you that. And I think what we also heard yesterday was a man saying, it was the leader of the Greater Manchester Police Force, we will not tolerate hate crime in the UK. And I think for many of us, we're kind of saying, hold on, we'll tolerate the slaughter of an innocent 8-year-old, beautiful little Safi, but we won't tolerate hate. You know, we have our priorities all wrong. And what I'm saying is to Great Britain, we now need to stand united, but united against terror.
We'll not tolerate hate crimes, but we tolerate murder of our citizenry. And the hate crime that they want to talk about is that of taking on radical Islam. Speaking of radical progressive liberalism, and someone who is always rushing to the defense of it is a regular caller here on the show, someone who is a great defender of all things that are leftist. You know him. He calls in regularly. He just has to get on whenever we start talking all things American. He's American. Love him. A great guy, I guess. I met him a couple of times. Great guy. Socialist Stephen. Socialist Stephen, what have you to say negative about your country now?
Well, the only thing I want to straighten out quick, the only thing I defend is the belief of Jesus Christ. That's the only thing true in my heart that I try to defend.
All right, I'm on board with you so far.
Okay? So you're serious about your solution. Kill as many as fast as we can, bomb them to solve this problem.
It has
You're
always
really serious.
It has always worked. It has always worked. Stephen, are you a pacifist?
It's always worked.
Are you a pacifist?
It's always worked.
Are you a pacifist? Okay. I can understand your position if you are a pacifist.
No. You say you do with logic. You think logic. So during the 2000s, in the Iraq campaign, how many Muslims did we kill?
Was it logical to kill Hitler?
Do you know how many we killed?
I hope we killed a bunch of them.
We did. Some estimates, 300,000.
I hope we killed a bunch of them. I don't know the number, but I'm hoping we killed a bunch of them. We may not have killed enough of them.
What problem did it solve?
The problem that happened there is that we did not finish the job like we did with the Germans and the Japanese. We didn't finish the job. That's the problem.
We can't go no further. I don't know how you call yourself a pastor of Christ.
What are you talking about? It was the pastors. Let me tell you. Hold on, Stephen. Hold on just a minute. I won't let you get away with that because you are. Hold on just a minute, man. Be quiet. Let me hold on just a minute, because you are standing in a free country where pastors led the revolution against the British, and we killed as many of the enemies of this republic as we possibly could kill. And that solution, my friend, has worked over a 241-year period of time. And it is people like you who have, in fact, polluted the game plan by politically correct type of warfare. Warfare has been with us since the beginning of time, and it will be with us. As Jesus said, there will be wars. There will be rumors of wars. And Stephen, if you are an honest American, you had better hope that we win those wars. And we're not going to win them the way you want to fight them. So, but don't give me that how can you be a pastor when pastors gave you the right to be talking on this phone by fighting the American Revolution.
We are great and blessed by God.
Yes, we are, because of the Bible and the gun. Because of the Bible and the gun, not because of pablum puking liberals like you. Stephen, I'm tired of you. Bye. Tired of you, man. Listen, please don't come at me like that. Because you folks better believe that the way we have fought wars in this country have not been won. The reason we are in a free America right now is because pastors had their guns and their Bibles and their guns in the pulpit. You are standing in a country that has been won by the Bible, the belt, and the gun. You better believe it. Joe, thank you for calling. Thank you for listening.
CL, this guy is the most classless, disrespectful person that calls in I have ever heard. And for him to tell you that you're not a follower of Christ, that these guys, this is why this country and the world is in the shape it's in. It's because of people like this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if we go down into that dark night of America going away, it will be because, Joe, we have forgotten what got us here. It was men and women of courage who, yes, believed in the strong word of God, but they defended it with the gun. They defended it with the gun. That's why we have that Second Amendment right. Brother, I thank you for listening. I thank you for your call and your support. Folks, that's exactly the problem. 320-5335. 32 please don't let anyone challenge your Christianity as an American by telling you that you're wanting to defend your country and your family is the reason why they're calling you out. I'm CL. We'll be right back. CL, back with you here in the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known. Not allowing our rights to be infringed upon, nor the Second Amendment to be challenged. And folks, I am telling you that it is time for you to take a stand one way or the other. 318-320-5335. On the line with me, MP Dave. We'll take that, Jay. MP Dave, thank you for calling. What's on your mind, brother?
First off, you handled Steve a lot calmer than I would have. I got to commend you on that. I'm going to have to go take some extra blood pressure medicine. He got me going.
Doesn't he just make your blood boil?
I thought we had him a couple of months ago. I thought we had him.
Dave, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. How many millions, how many thousands or millions of Americans do you think we may have in this country right now, just like him?
I
It's
don't even want to think about it.
It's scary.
It's scary. And the further west we go or further east we go, it seems like the coast.
Yeah.
Something with salt water. I think you put salt on them and you end up with, snowflakes. I call them.
Maybe it's the coast that's because you go down to New Orleans.
It might be the radiation from Japan over there on the East Coast. I don't know.
Because you know what, Dave? It may be the salt water. You go down to New Orleans, it's kind of the same way.
Exactly. You get over in Texas, you go to Austin. They're close enough.
You never know. You never know.
But I'm saying the problem is, as a veteran, they did not unleash us.
Right.
They did not unleash us and let us do what we were taught to do.
Right.
They drew a line and they wouldn't let Schwarzkopf go on and finish the job.
Exactly.
And that is what happened in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And hopefully, God forbid, if we ever have to go back to war, we'll have a president and a Congress that will allow us to do our jobs.
As long as we got this president, Dave, as long as we can keep a liberal, a progressive liberal out of the White House, as long as we have a Pence or a Trump-like president in the White House, I believe, and I want to thank you for your service to our nation, I believe that we will have the right people to command our armed forces and let our boys and girls do what they're supposed to do against our enemies, and that's kill people and break things. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but that is the way of war. That is war.
And it doesn't matter if you're a pastor or a Christian or whatever. It's what has to be done.
Right. Exactly right.
And I will do it again and again, especially now that I'm older. I'm a grumpy old man. I mean,
you know what, Dave?
Send us old grumpy guys.
You know what? You bring up an interesting point, Dave. I've heard that 35% of the recruits that come to join the Army cannot get in because they are substance addicted. So we have,
then there's so many that are overweight. Obese.
Exactly. They're not physically fit whatsoever. So it may take grumpy old men like you and me.
Hey, I'm sorry, but hey, whoever gets the most kills, they get to control the remote control.
I hear you, brother. Hey, listen, thank you so much for calling in.
Take care. God bless.
You too, brother. Yeah, folks, that is something that we have to tend to. 318-320-5335. 318-320-5335 is the number to call if you want to talk to me. And I have something to tell you, folks. It is important. It's important to understand just how many of our young people in this country are totally under the spell of that stinking thinking that you just heard from Socialist Stephen. They will go along with. And I'm not saying Stephen's one of these. At least I hope he's not. I never tested his views or opinions on abortion. Are you hearing me? You know where I'm fixing to go with this? they will go along with murdering babies, but they won't go along with defending your right to defend your land, because how can that be Christian? You see how twisted that can get? Oh, my God. And folks, you go and Google revolutionary pastors, wartime American revolutionary pastors. There were great, great men of God who led their congregations into war because of the Judeo-Christian ethic needing to be defended. And not only that, the tyranny of evil men would have overrun this nation as it is overrunning the people we defeated, England. If pastors had not stood up and said, we will form a nation where we bow down to no earthly king but God. Social liberals want you to bow down to them. They want you to be they want to be your masters. Oh, they promise to be benevolent masters, but they want to be your masters. And the Judeo-Christian ethic says to the citizens of a Judeo-Christian nation, Americans will not bow down to any earthly king except our Creator, who gives us the endowment, unalienable endowment, to life, liberty, and the pursuit of our happiness. And if you have to defend that with a gun, with a bow and arrow, with your life, that is your American right. I'll be back. Yeah, got to take care of some business. That's what Steve Scalise is doing up there in Washington, D.C., is trying to take care of some business as Congressional Budget Office is needing to score this bill. The Democrats are crying foul. They're crying. Well, the Democrats are going to cry either way you look at it. There is nothing that this administration is going to do. Now, the CBO is pretty much indicating that the health bill, American Health Care Act, that the Republicans are sending up, will cut deficit by $119 billion. But they're saying that it will also put 23 million people off of insurance. Now, let me show you where the Democrats are going to try and mislead you on this, because you got to pay attention. The cost of your freedom is eternal vigilance. You got to be always on guard for what they're not telling you. 23 million Americans were going to come off this insurance anyway. Do you know why? Because the health care insurers were not going to stay in the game. Obamacare was collapsing on its own. Aetna and all of them, United, all of them were pulling out. And so when you look at the 23 million that they're saying would lose their health care in this new health care bill presented by the Republicans, you have to understand that those were going to lose their health insurance anyway, for no other, if for no other reasons. They can't afford it. They're not going to be able to afford it. And young people will not even be able to get into the game. So understand that you're going to be hearing a lot of flack on this. You can turn over to CNN right now. And if you want to just, MP Dave was talking about he may have taken more blood pressure medicine. Man, I'm telling you, don't turn on CNN. If you are of any type of conservative slant, if you have any common sense whatsoever, you know that these people are lying, don't turn on CNN, because they will get your goat. Yes, they will. They will get it and be gone with it. They make a living out of distorting facts and leveling anything that appears to be coming out of this White House. Now, the president did, in fact, visit with the pontiff today, the Pope. The Pope, of course, in my estimation, and I have Catholic roots. I have many members of my family who are Catholics. Many members of my family who are Catholics. And I have to tell you that this Pope is much more to the left than any of them that any other Pope that I have known in my lifetime. And I think I've been through a bunch of them. I've been through a bunch of popes, but he is the most leftist that I have seen. A good man, I'm sure he is. But he is mostly politically active. The president did say, Trump did say, DJT, he said that he had a real good meeting with him as he heads off to the summit. And we'll get a full report on that. I do ask you to continue in prayer for our president in his travels, because there is definitely a move to fundamentally change our country. And there is a move in this country. There is a movement in this country, a movement to take him down. I have never seen it like this before. They're doing to Trump what they said Tea Partiers and grassroots people were trying to do to Obama. No, nowhere close. I was part of that movement. Nowhere close to what we were totally against Obamacare. And Obama was spending our money without telling us about it. Nancy Pelosi was saying stupid stuff like we have to pass the bill before we can read it. You see, during the Obama administration, the very type of thing that we were trying that we were doing, that we're trying to do with this new health care bill, they did it in the middle of the night, and it was done. And you woke up and you had it. We are living out this American health care bill in the light of day, the same way Obamacare should have been lived out. We were fighting the fact that they were doing it behind our backs. Now, the hypocrisy is this. Here we are doing this in the light of day, and they somehow feel as though we are the ones who are doing something wrong. How hypocritical is that? But I'm telling you, it is progressive liberalism in its classic form. They do things that they later cry about you doing. That's progressive liberalism in its classic form. They are trying to take this president, the president of the United States, they're trying to take him down. Why do they hate so much? It's because we succeeded where they failed. And they see the potential for us to succeed further where they have failed, and they have turned into political terrorists. Oh, yeah, the Democrats have turned into political terrorists. They are going to try and terrorize everything that this administration does. They will cut off their own noses, as they are doing. They are cutting off their own noses, as they are doing, to spite their American faces, knowing that the best thing is for us to stand up like men and women, the men and women that we are here in this great land. I'll be back.
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
It is I, your native son, CL, back with you on this Wednesday, the home stretch of the C.L. Bryant Show for this Wednesday. It has been a quick 2 hours, but I'm always glad to be here with you, sharing with you the greatness of our nation and, of course, talking to you about how we can be a better us. And I want to take the time to bring our attention to those who refuse to work. There are many of you who have put your time in, you've put your work in, you've done what you needed to do, and now you're going to rest in the shade for a while. You're going to rock on the porch. You're going to do what you want to do, sit at home, whatever it is. Go paint canvas like President Bush is doing. He's turning himself into an artist these days. Just chill, as the kids say. You've earned that. And then there are those who are disabled and can't work anymore, and you did hit a lick of a snake at one time, but you can't do it anymore. And hey, you've earned that. But then you have those who have never hit a lick at anything. Just no count. And I'm afraid that the numbers of those are growing. Are you hearing me? And folks, let me tell you something. America has become one of those, we're becoming, and on the college campuses, we have the teachers teaching children that they're owed everything. They're just owed everything. I'm not going to buy into it. 318-320-5335, 318-320-5335. It's the number to call if you want to talk. Lines are lit. Jay, I think we'll take Eric. Eric, thank you for listening. Thank you for calling. What's on your mind, friend?
I'm going back to that bonehead that was talking about a Christian shouldn't defend theirself. He needs to pick up his Bible and read Matthew 26, verse 51. When one of his disciples, when they were trying to apprehend Jesus, pulled out his sword and cut off the servant's ear to the high priest. Yeah. He armed himself.
Exactly.
He was obviously a Christian.
Exactly. And guess what? Peter had that sword with him. Jesus knew he had the sword.
Right. Absolutely.
He knew he had the sword. And so we run into these. And you know what's going to happen, Eric, as we move down this highway with this president that we have, you're going to have more and more progressive liberals coming out wanting to challenge us on every little thing, and especially our Christianity. How can you be this if you... No, America was founded by people who were Bible-believing, gun-toting people. And we had better remain that way if we want to keep this country, Eric. And hey, man, I really thank you for calling in and chiming in like that.
Can't forget Gideon, who killed more people than anybody could ever count.
And the king who was called David.
There you have it.
Thank you, brother. All right. Yeah. Hey, folks, and you better never forget it. You better never forget it. When we talk about that Judeo-Christian ethic, we are talking about, yes, we must defend ourselves. There's a lot to even the visual of Jesus in anger in the temple, turning over the tables of the money changers, those who would pollute and corrupt what he knew was. He took on what he knew was wrong. And if you think that Christ was some guy floating around on a cloud wearing a pink robe throughout Palestine, you're wrong. He was a carpenter. His hands were rough. His associations that he even chose to be around him were men who knew how to handle themselves. Peter was no wallflower. Huh? And even to be a tax collector like Matthew, you had to be a pretty tough guy. You know why? Because there were people who hated you. The Apostle Paul was the equivalent of a cop. A tough cop, but he was a cop. It was his job to arrest people who were not Jews, who were Christians, and lead them into captivity. And when he became a Christian, hey, he was still had that edge on him. Read a lot of what Paul has said. Oh, hey, I wish that I wasn't this way. Paul many times said. Sometimes I want to do real good, but hey, the good that I would do, I can't find. He was a tough guy. Americans in that same Judeo-Christian ethic, we're tough. We're tough people. This is not a journey for pansies. Oh, can I say pansies, Jay? I don't know if I can say pansies. Can I say pansies?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, it's a flower from what I understand. But but this is not a journey for people of weak will. None of it is. And the great American founders of our nation, the great American founders, especially the pastors in this nation, the reason the British wanted to take them out first was because not only were they great warriors, but they were people who would inspire folks to stay on the line, to fight the battle. This nation was founded by people who understood the strength, the Word of God, and the common sense of being well armed. I'll be right back. I want to welcome aboard our newest Advertisers, Beard and Blade. Beard and Blade. Hey, you be sure to hear their advertisement here on the CL Bryant Show and get on over there. They have special. Hey, you know, men, sometimes when we're our face with all the facial hair and everything, the thing that we got going on with us, you need to be pampered and find stuff that can enhance and pamper your skin, because it can be tough with that beard, and sometimes you're using the wrong blade and all that kind of thing. Our friends at Beard and Blade can definitely take care of your needs. And on next Wednesday, the 31st, Memorial Day, I will be at Camp Joy out there on Lake Bistineau. Great, beautiful place. I'll be out there. There will be an unveiling of a statue there, a military statue there at Camp Joy. Come on out and be with me. Come on out and let me shake your hand and maybe give you a chance to talk on the radio with me. 5:30 to 7:30 at Camp Joy next Wednesday, Lake Bistineau. Tom Milam, if you're listening to this program right now, Tom Milam over there at Milam Cars, Tom Milam, you come on out and be with me. Come on out and be with me. Tom Milam, I'm inviting you out over the line. Bring a friend with you. Bring somebody with you. And I'm inviting all of our men and women in uniform, whether it is police, first responders, and certainly want to invite our military to come on out and be with me at Camp Joy next Wednesday from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. The CL Bryant Show will be live from Camp Joy. And by the way, it's a great place to have a venue, any type of party. It's a beautiful and great place to have it. You need to go out and see it. Anyway, just come on out and use that an excuse to bring the wife and kids out to Camp Joy and be there and see this great place there at Lake Bistineau. Now, earlier today I was with a newfound friend of mine. His name is Carl Qualls, and he left something here. A great American motivator, Zig Ziglar. All of you know the name. Zig Ziglar was, God rest his soul, was a great motivator. I was reading something here in a little pamphlet, a little book that he gave me. Zig said something that I want to relate to the American experience. And I was talking about work before Eric called in and gave us the encouragement that he did, as well as the insight word. Thank you so much, Eric, for listening and calling. Zig said these words. Look, check this out. He said the most practical, beautiful, workable philosophy in the world won't work if you won't. Now, you got to take this, I think, the way I'm going to try and relate it. The progressive liberals have all of these beautiful and flowery, idealistic ideas about what and how we should be toward our fellow man, as far as feeding them, housing them, and giving them health care. But the most beautiful, practical, and workable philosophy in the world won't work for a person who won't work themselves. Now, what's going on about those of you who have earned your retirement, those of you who have become disabled over a period of time, and you can't work, not talking to you at all. I started this last night, and I want to continue with this because I believe that Americans are born to win. Oh, I think it's a birthright of ours. I believe it if you'll work. If you will use the endowment, the great endowment that we have, it is unalienable, given to us by our Creator. If you will use the endowment, you are endowed with the ability, first of all, to have life. You have it. You have that life. And you ought to thank God that you have an American life. You have that life. You have the liberty. And folks, I've told you before, all liberty You're at liberty. You have now a responsibility to do with your free will. It's called liberty. Liberty is responsibility of free will, and it makes you responsible toward your freedom. You have the liberty to exercise freedom. If you abuse the one, you will lose the other. If you abuse your responsibility with liberty, you lose your freedom. It's a natural law. It's a natural law. You soon find yourself in a literal or psychological cage if you abuse liberty. And the purpose which you are designed for is polluted. That takes me to the thought that I was wanting to share. And I will share it with you, good Lord willing, when we return. I'm CL. Don't go anywhere.
Get your motor running.
CL here to close it out on this Wednesday. I thank you all for coming along with me on this great American journey. I want to leave you with these words. you will make a lousy anybody else, but you will be the best you in existence. Americans, relate that to who we are as a nation. We can't be France. We can't be England. We can't be anybody else. We'll make a lousy, and that's why progressive liberalism in this country does not work. We were never intended to be that. It weighs against the DNA of our Constitution. We'll make a lousy anything else, and we have missed the mark. We have lost our purpose in trying to be somebody else. Citizens of the world, we are not. We are Americans. And we will make the very best Americans in existence if we maintain our rule of law and do not fall for the evil of multiculturalism. You've heard me talk about that before. The evil of multiculturalism is not what you think. Multiculturalism is not what you think. It is anti-American. We make the best Americans in existence. We have done that for 241 years this year. But keep in mind, we will make lousy anything else. And that's why we're slipping down that slippery slope, because too many of us are listening to the progressive liberals who want us to be something other than what we were designed to be. Well, hey, folks, we've just about come to the end of this show, and I certainly want to thank each and every one of you, especially all of our advertisers, for being there for us and with us. It's a long road that we travel. It's going to be tough. There are difficult days ahead of us as Americans. It is evident with one glance at the news. It's a long, tough road, but we will prevail. And I want to thank God for bringing us to yet the close of another day. And I want to thank him for our men and women in uniform around the globe who defend our right to speak our minds. And until I'm able to talk to you again, I'm CL, and may God bless and keep you all.
We'll stand by your side, and the